Okay, so I'm a male. So everyone's brain is a little different. But then if we were to look at my brain and compare it to your brain, we'd see a lot of differences in specific areas. But then if we were to take your brain and compare it to Haley's brain, we would not see those differences.
Just to clarify too, it's not a one-for-one. There's a couple of studies out here that have done some like low-quality imaging while people are still alive. Most of these MRI images are done post-mortem because it actually pretty much fries and kills the brain. So I know there's one study off the top of my head that shows that a trans woman's brain is shifted away from a cis man's brain, but there's still not a one-to-one for a cis woman's brain, right? So I've seen people take that study and also claim that because trans women don't have a one-for-one brain as a cis woman, they're still a man, which is actually not what the study is saying at all. It's actually showing that there's a shift away from a cis male's brain.
Yeah, and they do these tests on rats, and they do. You know, we see this in testing on rats and in the physiology and all of that come like rats are very very. Yeah. But these rats are like most of our medical knowledge come from testing, right, on animals like rats and mice and those sort of things. So yeah.
And that's exactly why I brought up the point about the male and the female and the animals, because not for nothing, but science really based a lot of their information off of animals.
Not dogs, though. You were mentioning dogs, and I was like,
yeah, but I could have used a female rat and a male rat as well. I could have used a female dolphin.
Yeah, like the rats. No, the rats, Jaleesa. The rats is definitely far more realistic than dogs.
Yeah, but I was just using like an animal. You know, I could have used a male gorilla or a female gorilla. I could have used a male anything or a female anything, but a dog just was the first thing that popped in my head. But I mean, so I'm actually going to do some research on the whole brain thing because I am very curious about that. And yeah, once again, I wasn't asking my question, like when I actually dumb it down, like all of those big words, like I never like went to college and like studied science and all of that stuff or biology. Like I really don't know like all of those big words. So when you were talking to me, especially like you speak kind of fast, I'm like, what the heck is he saying? And I didn't want you to waste your time using all those big words. And then I'm just sitting here scratching my head like I was. So that's why I asked you, like, not every time are you speaking to someone who is like trying to like, oh, I just want to win, like at any means. So like, I'm going to try and like, no, like I actually am like looking to learn sometimes, but I am going to go ahead and research the whole like brain thing. 'Cause I'm curious to like see this for myself, but do I believe that the brain is the most reliable way to determine a male or a female? I would have to say absolutely not. It is great that we have all this science, but let's be real. That means that in the past, like before all of this science was available to us, that means that no one really knew if they were male or female because no one had brain scans to check. So I mean,
right, but they don't need a brain scan. If someone's telling you what they are, that's usually a pretty good indication. I don't think people lie about that. Like if you're telling me you're a female, I'm gonna believe you.
But there's people who tell you.
Then also not to mention, just real quick, if you're gonna say that like the sexual like dimorphism experienced within the brain isn't the most reliable way to determine one's sex, well then like what is it? Is it like, you know, the sexual dimorphic reproductive organs? Is it the sexual dimorphic bone density? The sexual dimorphic you know, like fat distribution? The sexually dimorphic like chromosomal structure? Like hormonal structure? Like hormonal function? Like what is it? Because if you're just simply going to denote the neurology not being the most reliable, but then not offering a hypothesis on what the most reliable would be, you're basically just taking the set of data with a perceived conclusion as to how we should process it, and saying that this conclusion is false without offering a conclusion of your own. And what this just inclines me to believe is that this is more so rooted out of transphobia in comparison to a nuanced understanding of our basic anatomy and biology.
Yeah, so in regards to that, I just literally said that I'm going to look into it, but do I think that your neurology or your brain structure is the most reliable way to determine if someone is male or female? I said no. But I also went on to say that I'm not done speaking. I also went on to say that I am going to look into this because obviously, as you can see, I don't know much about it. So for me to sit here and say, speak like I do, that's just arrogant and wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this and look into my own research and come to a conclusion based off the research that I look at. But that's what these debates are about, Dean. I understand that you are on a mission to win, you just want to get that W under your belt, but Dean's debates,
Jaleesa,
not for nothing. I'm not done speaking. Dean's debates, not for nothing, should be.
Yeah, you're gaslighting me. Just
Dean's
won't
debates.
work.
Dean's debates, not for nothing. Tell me how I'm Tell me how I'm gaslighting you after I finish speaking. Dean's debates.
Yeah, so you're just presupposing my ultimatum goal within this.
Dean's debates.
And then also, if you're basically saying that you're here to learn, but then at the same time you're just offering,
I guess I don't get that respect of finishing what I'm saying.
Jaleesa, with all due respect, Dean was up here before you, and he was actually up here discussing my topic that I had before because he had an opinion on it, and then we changed the topic because there was no requests, and then I seen you in the requests, and he wanted to.
And I came up.
So he wasn't here to get a W over you.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying just in general, that's his whole
this is just your way of coping.
MO. But can I just finish saying what I was saying? I would appreciate
just your way of,
if you let me finish saying what I'm saying, and if I'm wrong, just say that I'm wrong after. That's how it usually works. I finish what I'm saying, and then you say that I'm wrong. So yeah, I understand that you wanted to get the W. The way I perceived you is that you want to get that W under your belt, so you think that's what it's about. But these debates are supposed to be for people to be informed and people to actually learn as well. It's not just about I'm gonna try and just prove.
Hold up, I'm calling bullshit, Jaleesa, because you have come on this live many times before and been very hostile. Today you are very calm. But you are not normally like this.
I'm just gonna go to clear this up.
Came up here, and this is the thing. When you come on a live,
Jaleesa, I'm gonna go. You just interrupted me. Thanks. So I just want to clear this up with you,
Jaleesa, me, and then you jumped in. So I mean, when someone's speaking to someone and they're having a conversation, you don't just insert yourself.
Hold on,
Jaleesa, I'm going to go ahead and clear this up with you, quite frankly. So on one hand, I really don't appreciate your false and misrepresented approach to this debate. Because honestly, you are more approaching this debate like my ex-girlfriend would approach an argument compared to a real sense for education. And listen, I might believe you that you were interested in leaving this panel with a productive form of dialogue in comparison to just, some type of emotional plea for wanting to be in the right, if you didn't say that you full-heartedly believe the brain is not going to be the most conclusive means of determining one's sex, right? So if you want to hold to a position that you just truly want to learn more and you need to do the research and you need to get the education, but then at the same time you're making a conclusive claim that we are incorrect, those two ideas are not compatible. If you truly valued gaining a more nuanced understanding of this topic and of the related subtopics such as the neurology, then you wouldn't come out of the gate swinging saying that we were incorrect in our hypothesis that sex is best determined off of one's neurology, right? Then also I think what furthers this notion that you are not here to learn is then by their accusing me of gaslight, or then by their accusing me of acting in bad faith and only just wanting to take the W. Typically it's not a good thing to make assumptions about other individuals with no prerequisite means to do so. And And I feel like this being our first conversation of ever engaging with one another, and then you simply coming up into the live and saying, I want to do nothing more than take a W, when this whole time I've only been trying to educate you and respond and perform in this debate in a productive manner, is quite disheartening. And I hate this modern approach to debate of, instead of engaging it in good faith, but rather taking this manipulative approach, is honestly quite sad, and it's a fad in which I hope dies out fast.
Well, one thing that I would say to that is that's very interesting that you have that way of seeing that when I made an assumption about your intentions, but you kind of got up here and did the same thing with me when you literally said that, oh, I know you're trying to be like this because you're losing or whatever. Like, you made an assumption of my intention and all that when you did that. So at the end of the day, like, it's kind of like being a hypocrite for you to be able to call me out on something that you also participated in without even acknowledging that you literally did the same thing that you're trying to call me out for.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason that I don't agree with you is because there's a difference between an assumption and an observation of character. So my observations of character about you possess justification for them. But when you don't know what to say, so you simply appeal to some manipulative tactic of saying that I just want to win, is embarrassing and nothing more than a baseless assumption. If you want to provide justification for your claims, maybe I'll grant them more credence. But until then, I'm going to write you off as a fan and move on.
Well, that's the thing about what you did.
Hey, Jaleesa,
the thing about
quick,
the thing of I'm not done. I just want to finish
this. I know you're not done. Just finish with this, okay? And then I'd like to move on.
Yeah, no problem. The thing about what you did is, like, you literally did the same exact thing when you said you're just mad because you're losing, when that was not my intentions. That's not why I was asking you to dumb it down. It was literally because I had no clue what you were talking about, and I don't know those big terminologies and words. But one last thing that I want to say before I go ahead and head out, I would also like to say, you were saying how, if I actually wanted to come up here and learn, then I would basically agree of what you were saying about the whole neurology. Well, if I literally just said that I'm going to go and do research on my own, meaning that I'm going to actually look at scientists looking at different sets of brains and saying how a female brain and a male brain differentiate each other, that would mean that I want to see this information on my own. It doesn't mean that I have to literally just take your word for it and say, well, you might be right, when I know nothing about the topic and I haven't looked into any research by myself. I know you may be like, maybe you're used to people just saying that, but no, I like to see the information in front of me. So
Right.
yeah.
So
learn
here's the big
means
issue.
that you
Before you
open
misconstrue
to
my
learn.
claims,
I'm not
before
done.
you
To
misconstrue my
learn,
claims,
to learn,
Jaleesa,
to learn,
before you
to
misconstrue my
learn, to
claims,
learn,
I'm going
to
to
learn.
educate you once more,
To
Jaleesa.
learn means that
Before
I
you
listened
misconstrue
to
my claims,
to learn means that you gave me some
I'm
information that I
telling
did
you that
not
you
know, and
misconstrued
now
my
I'm going to
claims.
go ahead and do
I'm
some research
unironically
in my
telling you
own
that you
time to see the
misconstrued my
evidence
claims.
right in front.
Like, I'm unironically just telling you that
You're
you're misconstruing my
monologuing.
claims. And at this point, I just know you're doing it in bad faith, homie. Like, I mean, it's really hard for people to get a foot with me, and now she's freaking out about it because she can't do it. But anyways, I didn't tell you to accept my claims. I told you not to reject them.
Hold on, David. I did want to move on.
I said, do I believe?
Yeah, hold on.
Me,
Hold
I
on.
say it's false as a
we're
whole.
moving on.
Jaleesa, yeah, you have.
Believe.
So really quick, Jaleesa,
You have to
before you
listen
head
to
out,
people's
and
words.
Jaleesa, hold on, please. So before you head out too, I know you're going to go look into it and do your own research, which I think is fantastic. And this is the only catch that I tell people that go out and do their own research. There's reasons why researching and putting out research is a master's, if not above that level form of education, is because you have to be trained a little bit to read the rhetoric and how studies are formed. You have to know the types of studies, the variables, the P factors, R factors.
There's people that break it down.
And that's not there is, but that's fair.
Yeah, so I could find someone who's breaking it down and really wants people to know.
I'm not finished. So that's good. Use those resources too. But once again, make sure that if someone's breaking down something for you, make sure you recognize any potential biases that they may have. And then while you're researching too, beware of this thing called confirmation bias. That's really, really common with people that go and look into research studies too. And what confirmation bias is, basically you have a innate set of ideals of how you
I know what
interpret
it
the
is.
world and data. Okay, so so while you're looking,
so I know how to
Jaleesa, hold on please,
look things up in research.
Hold on please, because this isn't just for you too, right? There's 400 people in the comments right now also listening to how to do research as well. Okay, so while you're looking through these articles and these studies too, recognize that while you might perceive something a certain way, the people doing that study might not be doing it for that reason, right? They've indicated a different way at the conclusion that this is what this study suggests. This is why we need more information on this subject, and we want to develop more studies in the future exploring this subject. Okay.
One last question before I leave. Do you think that any of the articles that you looked at are people who have confirmation bias?
Okay, I'm sorry, Jaleesa, I had to drop you. I'm getting over it. I had to drop Jaleesa. We've got plenty of people in the requests waiting that probably want to have an opinion too. The longer we spend with Jaleesa, the harder that will be.
Reasons why you have to be educated a little bit about how to read research studies, because there are ways to account for biases and outside influencing factors as well.
Oh my God, Atlantic's been here the whole time. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to prove that I am. I'm asking you to prove that I'm not.
But I don't think if you know who you are, you need someone to prove who you are or are not.
I don't need to, but I don't need to, but I want to.
Well, why would you? It's like me asking someone if I am who I am. That's not a choice.
Right, exactly. Me being a female is not a choice, but some people seem to think it is.
Yeah, well, I guess what I'm saying to you is
a lot of people think it is.
In the trans community, that's where I see it. I've never seen a person that was born male telling someone to prove that I'm not a male or I am. I've never seen it vice versa.
I'm going to give
not
you a
once.
So DOP, imagine you woke up tomorrow and 75% of the world, if not even a higher percentage, didn't think that you were a man, right? And you wanted to educate these individuals and teach them and show them how you are a man, right? So what are a few ways of doing that? So one way of doing this would be by going on TikTok and hosting a live saying, I'm a man, prove me wrong, right? So it has nothing to do with Haley's sense of self or Haley's security within her gender identity, but rather surrounding the insecurity experienced by individuals such as you about her gender identity. And it is more so focused around the education part.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very comfortable with who I am. I know who I am. But
well, if you're comfortable with it, and he just said it's the other people that aren't, then why do you need to prove something to somebody if that's who you are?
I think again, you're missing. I'm not proving nothing. I'm asking you to prove something.
Yeah, there's nothing you need to prove. You are what you are. So if you're
So you think I'm a female? Perfect. That's all I needed to hear.
I don't think you're a female. You're obviously not if you're telling people to prove you that you're not.
Well, that's not. No. See, now we're getting down to it. We're getting to the transphobia. Okay.
There's no transphobia. If you.
No, they all say that.
Were you born a male?
I was assigned male.
Were you born a male?
I was assigned male at birth by a doctor.
So nature assigned you who you were at birth, and then you tried to change it to something else.
No, hold up. You're right. Nature assigned me a female and gave me the wrong body part.
Okay, so you just proved my point. Then you're a male.
Yeah, no, I told you that nature assigned. I was born female here. Again, I said this before. It's possible for females to have male characteristics, right?
Well, that's why you're trying to get people to prove you wrong, because you think something and people know different.
No, people think different. People don't know different.
Well, how are they not to know any different?
Because I am a transsexual female. I am a transsexual female. I'm not claiming. Hold up. I'm not claiming to be a cissexual female.
Yeah,
I haven't made that claim.
To describe who you are, right? It's not like a female needs to say that I'm a grown female or.
I am a female. Hold up. You're not tracking. I am a transsexual female.
It's like I think you guys have your mind made up. So this might be a point, this convo, but that's why I asked you. It's not going to be female, biologically born females that are going to be online saying.
There's a word for that.
What I am. They know.
Well, they are. Hold up, DOP. There are cissexual females on here doing that. First of all, and when you say biological, born this way, female, whatever you said. There's a word for that. It's called cissexual.
No, it's rooted in your biology. It is like you have a biological sister.
Transsexuality and cissexuality are both rooted in biology.
So let's take that out of the context of this conversation. You
brought it up?
Correct? You're born a male, correct?
I was assigned male at birth. What part are you not hearing? How many times have I said that?
We'll take the word assigned out of it. You were born a male, correct?
Why? It's pertinent to the answer.
Well, it's really not. Well, think about it. If you are a trans, whatever.
Doctors make mistakes.
That's your choice. That's cool. Have no problem with that. Then you clearly are something else.
Yes, I am a transsexual female. Hold up. There are two types of female. There was probably three types of females, actually. There's the sexual females, transsexual females, and intersex females. They're all female. I don't know what's hard to understand about that.
Someone that's intersex is different than somebody that's trans and a female.
Sure, hold up. I know that. I know. I'm not. Yes, I know there are differences. I'm saying. No. You're not.
I'm listening.
Hold up. You're not listening. I know that there. Thank you for the crown, sweetheart. I know that there are differences. An intersex female is still a female. Okay, a transsexual female is still a female. A cissexual female is still a female. So what's hard to understand?
What does it require to be a female and a male then? Because if you're born male and you're telling me you're
the neurology.
But there's no objective difference between the two. If I can think something, then does that
how do you know?
Think that I am?
No, we're not talking about that part of the brain.
Well, if neurology is the study of the brain, then what part of the brain are you talking about?
A specific area of the brain called the hypothalamus. Specifically the subcentral bed nucleus of the strata terminalis.
If neurology is encasing all of that inside of one thing, correct? It's the study of the brain. So if somebody thinks they are something, does that make them who they claim?
No, but the problem is you're talking about psychology, not neurology. Well, surely they're linked, but they're not the same. One's to do with structures. Hold on, one's to do with the brain structure. Okay, the other one is not.
Well, isn't the hypothalamus a part of the brain structure? Like, that's what psychology would be a part of, correct?
Yes. No, the psychology is not a part of the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is not part of psychology. Sorry.
Dean was even claiming that it's a part of the neurological studies, correct?
Yes, but you're getting so hold up. You're getting the psychological part mixed up with the neurological. Like they're different. One's focusing strictly on structures and anatomical regions, right? But the other one's not.
Part of your body, then that's a part of your brain, which is a part.
Well, the psychology. Hold up. The psychology is more to do with like the frontal cortex and that sort of stuff.
Psychology bridges the frontal decision-making part, right? Outwardly decisions that we can make in the frontal cortex, right? And then connects it still with the mechanical structures that we still have. So psychology still recognizes that there's still structures that tend to make someone lean towards a way, but it focuses also bridging the behavioral part in the frontal cortex too. So it's still acknowledging that the structures still have a definite, if not heavy say in the way someone acts and thinks.
Okay, so you're telling me it's what a person thinks.
Not the way that you're thinking of it.
Well, I mean, you guys are trying to make a differentiation between all of these things, and neurology is the study of the brain. So I'm trying to get specific about what it is that you quote unquote think you are.
So I'll explain a little more. I explained it with the last guest. So your frontal cortex still has the final say in all the processes that your brain does. That's your actions when you think something. That's the part of your brain that you're using. Whenever you innervate a nerve or use a muscle or something like that, you're using this part of your brain. So while it still has the final say and this part of the brain may interpret data differently, the subconscious structures of your brain will still fire and work a certain way. They'll lean a certain way. So your brain always has a bias to act a certain way.
Also, Atlantic, are you asleep or awake? Just to...
Also, I'm gonna drop here shortly.
Okay, yeah, no, that's all right. I just want to see if Atlantic's asleep or awake.
Well, Dean,
I
I have a question
Atlantic's
for you too, then, because you seem like a smart cookie. What is the objective difference between a female and a male?
In what sense?
There is no sense. It's objective. It's black and white, right?
I know, but I'm more so talking about like in what context of how you're defining female and male.
Well, I mean, how many ways can you define one thing?
Infinite.
So
Infinite
everything is subjective?
Definitions are.
Okay, so if the definition is subjective, then what are they basing what they think they are off of? Because most of those things are an objective thing.
Degrees of reasonability. So okay. I don't think you're understanding my question. I'm literally just asking you how you define. Yeah, so no, 1 second. I'm unironically just asking you how you define male and female so I could tell you the differences. If you're just like asking me how I would define them and what the differences would be, well, we would just boil down to traits of the BNST of the hypothalamus, associated gray matter in the left putamen, alongside some other neurological differences. Like we see like higher levels of FSH, which is a neurohormone within the BNST of the hypothalamus. We see more like a higher volume of gray mass in the left putamen. We see more dense neurons within the BNST. We see slightly different brain structures within how the neurons are structured. We see like different patterns and how the neurons fire. And this is going to be like very objective physical differences, right? And like a good way to think about it is like when we're talking about these objective and very physical differences, well, like an individual could be born brain dead or without like, you know, any form of cognition, and these differences would still exist in the external reality. So we're not referring to mental states or like necessarily how you would, or like the notion that you would take of someone thinking or feeling, but legitimate physical hard-coded differences.
Well, okay, you're telling me the objective part of it then is the physical differences, and you just said it's not based on how the person thinks or feels about it. So which one is it? Because clearly the person's thinking they are something that they aren't, and that's why they try to transition into it, correct? I'm following what you're saying. I
don't think you understand what I'm getting. Yeah, so no one's transitioning.
Well, why would they try and be something that
it's affirming Oh, hey, Lolly. Maybe you can try explaining it. So remember, DOP, when I said that it's not the way that you're thinking, right? That it's a choice in how you think about it in your brain, but it's an innate bias that your brain leans towards. So it's acting a certain way. It's not a thought. A thought's in your frontal cortex, right? And I already talked about that.
Yeah, we're talking about the structures, but
I asked him a pretty simple question though. I said, "What's the objective difference between the two?" And if you're saying you're a trans something, that's just an adjective to describe what you think you are. You're basing it off of an objective.
It's not about what we think.
So is it the DOP or is it the DOPE? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
It just stands for like director of photography.
Okay. So I'm Lollipoo. I have I'm a nurse anesthesiologist. I have a doctorate. I have 16 years of schooling and residency, and I am currently doing research in neuroscience. I have a couple of publications just to give you a little bit of background. So when we speak about the brain and when people make the claim of mental illness or things as such, as Justine was saying, it is a part of your prefrontal cortex and you take in new information. It's also a part of something called your hippocampus and your amygdala. Those are three different structures of your brain that are constantly developing. Your amygdala is responsible for when you get angry, your hippocampus when you're angry, your prefrontal cortex when you are when you absorb different information. Your hypothalamus, as I'm sure that has been stated, is, in utero between the weeks of 8 and 10. It continues to develop and solidifies between the ages of 3 and 7. It's controlled by something called your autonomic nervous system. That is something that you cannot control. It's responsible also for temperature regulation. It's responsible for sleep patterns, for when you're hungry, for things as such. It is not something that you can control. It does not mean that you can be a different species. It is not a defect. It is a variation. When we speak of defects, we talk about something called microcephaly, where like your brain is too small. Or when we say chromosomal variations, there's about 6 that are compatible with life. So if you had a defect with your chromosomes, most likely you would not be able to stay alive. So when somebody is transgender versus cisgender, it simply means, as you've heard a million times, there's an incongruence. Sorry, my dog's just decided to be nuts.
So Lollipoo, just a quick question for you, not even to interrupt.
Sure.
If there's an incongruence, then the person is born something but is not comfortable with who they are, correct?
No,
well, no, that's not what it is.
So it's not that it's an uncomfortability. It's the same way that I, had a consciousness and I knew that I was a girl without looking between my legs, not to be crude, but just to be direct, the same way as you. So when I do anesthetics and we take out, unfortunately, I've had to do things called like penectomies, where we've taken off the whole penis and scrotum due to cancer. The person still wakes up and they're still a man. It's not a feeling. It's not something that you change. It's just innately who you are. It is not a decision. So just the same way I have a 7-year-old daughter, I didn't have to tell her that she is a girl. She just knows automatically. There's no outside influences. It's nothing that you change. It's just something that you affirm. We're actually doing even more studies on it currently right now. I'm actually involved in one of them, which is going to be pretty exciting. And one of the creators on here is going to help me give some input too. But it's not a choice. As much as people want to say that, I also have strong affiliations with, I used to work at Johns Hopkins, used to work at Geisinger Medical Center. So those are pretty big names too. And that's not to name drop, but that is just to, help you understand that this isn't just a small thing that is made up. They used to think the same thing about being gay, that it was a neurological problem, that it was a mental illness, that it was all this stuff, in the same way that they used to think, and I'm speaking of this medically, that people of color were a disability. And the medical community, the AMA, has had to retract numerous times, making apologies, just in the same way that the H slur used to be a commonly used word in the medical community up until about the 90s. And then again, they had to retract what they were saying. So science is constantly evolving and we're learning. Sorry to steamroll there.
That's okay. DOP, do you have any rebuttal to that?
I guess it's not that I'm trying to make a rebuttal for anything. I mean, I don't want to get into a giant argument with you guys because I just don't think there's going to be anything productive coming from that. I just had a few questions. I think differently about it.
Okay.
Hardly, but to each his own.
But can you concede that there are, you understand that there are different types of females, and I'm just one of them. I'm just a different type.
I mean, you believe what you believe. Like I can't fight you on that. Like, if that's what makes you happy living your life, then
define female.
Accept it. That's all it is. I'm not going to be down the street telling you you're not this, you're not that.
Yeah, because you would be wrong if you did, because I am. And
well, it's like I said, I don't know if you were confident in who you were, why you would be asking people to prove you wrong on anything. That's why I said
define female.
Females don't really sit here, I see, ever doing this. It's normally from the community.
Well, I just told you before that I've actually seen two. I've actually seen 2 recently that have had that topic. But yeah, Dean asked if you could define female.
Yeah, DOP, can you define female?
Somebody biologically born with a reproductive system, somebody that,
we're all born with it. Hold up. Males and females are born with a reproductive system typically, so that's not really defining female.
Well, they're completely different. That's what helps us
define female.
To the point we are.
Define
You're
female.
Not. Dean, you couldn't define it for me either. You said it
define female.
I'll quote what you said. There's infinite definitions.
There's infinite ways in which individuals could define it.
Then we're never
so I'm going to know what yours
meaning,
is.
correct?
So DOP define female.
Hold on. Did you not tell me that there's infinite meanings to the word female?
Yes, I did say that.
Well, then there's
Objective
no
definitions.
He just wants your take.
I just want your take.
Dean's going to put me into a box because he's leaving a general opening by saying definitions.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, hold up. Wait. Hold up. There is multiple definitions. And if I was to use my own definition, then how you couldn't really argue that either. If I was to say female as being,
guys,
if I was to say no,
define female.
You're proving my point.
Define
no.
female.
Oh yeah, we'll wait for you to define female first, and then we'll see how.
It doesn't matter how I define a female.
female.
It's never gonna concede to what he wants.
Define female.
Excuse me. Did you hold up? Wait. DOP. Did you just call me he, or were you referring to Dean?
I was referring to Dean.
Define
Great.
female.
Why don't you define female in your infinite ways, Dean? We'll play this game.
You can just say you don't know. You can just say you don't know, and we will hold up. DOP. You can just say you don't know, and we can help you. It's nothing embarrassing about saying you don't know.
I don't need help understanding.
DOP define female.
Objectively through going.
You need help defining it, though. That's what we're asking.
DOP define female.
Dean, I will not. I'm not going to play your game.
Just say you don't know.
You just said there's infinite meanings, then nobody can.
Wait, I'm just sorry. I don't understand why people come on debate panels then don't want to debate me. Bro, just
dude, you didn't even answer my question. You just generalized it by saying there's infinite meaning to it. I've never.
So if there's infinite meanings, DOP, what's yours?
It doesn't matter what mine is because you're going to tell me what yours is, and it's going to be subjective. Female. That's it.
No, we're just.
DOP.
We might
keep repeating it.
DOP. If anything, we're just going to point out. Hold up. If anything, we'll just point out the flaw in your definition. That's all.
DOP, listen, dude. Let me connect with you here for a second. Listen, it is like 5 a.m. for me. I'm on TikTok live. I'm chilling. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to be aggressive. I'm not trying to come across rude. I'm just genuinely interested in your worldview, and I want to see if I could maybe poke a few holes in it here. So please indulge me. Show me some humility.
With all due respect, I'm going to believe what I believe, and you're going to believe what you believe, Dean.
Right.
Try us. Test that lot. Let's test it. Try us.
I'm asking you what you believe the definition of the word female to be.
The girl that I've been with for 13 years was biologically born a female. She has a reproductive system. She can't choose that. That's one thing. She can't choose it. She was just born.
Well, I can. So.
Well, I'm glad she's living. That'd be a little weird.
And it's you know what? I don't want to get into semantics because
what if there's an individual born with MRKH?
I'm not trying to argue with who she is and what she believes. That's her.
Yes, you are. That's why you came up here. That's why you requested.
No, it's not. I asked you why you need someone to prove to you something you know about yourself. That's it. I said I didn't.
You came up to argue.
So you've defined a female by her reproductive system, right? So what if a female is born without a uterus, ovaries, a vagina, etc., such as born with a condition?
Some people have a genetic defect. That's unfortunate. It doesn't make them any less female.
Well, you defined it. Okay, well then that would mean that the reproductive system makes a female, so it makes a female.
Well, also that's not a genetic defect.
Right.
Well, sometimes things happen to people. Sometimes they have to have surgeries later in life or they can't have children. That doesn't make them any less female. And like I said, I'm not trying to argue, you guys, about the small nuances in between that you're going to find. That's
this
what
isn't
I
a small
know you're going
nuance,
to do.
DOP.
So
If you're going to define if you're going to define a female off of their reproductive system and then say that they're no less of a female when they don't have said reproductive system, this would obviously equate to the reproductive system not being the definition of female.
No, you're not even.
Which is why I would hold up. No, DOP, stop. DOP, stop. Do you agree that females can be born with male sex characteristics, whether it be
that's intersex.
No, hold up. No. I'm also talking about genotype, not just phenotype.
Well, I mean, the only people I know that are born with both genitalia are intersex people.
That's not necessarily what. Intersex could be someone with both sets of characteristics operating. And hold up, existing. Hold up. Fuck's sake.
Oh man!
An intersex person would
argue with me
because you're talking over us. I hadn't even finished. Okay, so an intersex person would be someone who has like both sets of a certain characteristic existing in the same characteristics. So, for example, having an ovary and a testy, right? That's one example, but not necessarily having XX chromosomes on a male and then also having the reproductive. That's not necessarily intersex. Intersex is someone that has both of the characteristics of that certain characteristic, if that makes sense.
Be honest with you.
I'm not being
tired.
Okay.
You don't need to call people infants.
I'm not being condescending.
Yeah, you are. Your voice and your tone's not going to fool me.
DOP, I'm not being condescending. I'm just tired.
You're calling me an infant. I'm probably 10 years older than you.
Listen, DOP, I'm gonna try to explain this one to you. So I need you to put your big boy pants on, sit down, crisscross applesauce, and listen. Right?
Crisscross applesauce. I don't even know what I'm listening to anymore.
So when we talk about things such as infinite definitions, this is because there is no objective arbiter of what the definition for any given proposition is.
So then there's a flat earth, right?
Wait 1 second. So in fact, like the whole
don't start on that.
In fact, like the whole concept of language is just simply to communicate a feeling from one brain to another to another brain, and how we do this is through the subjective notion of language.
Dude, with all due respect, what are you talking about when you said there's infinite definitions of female?
Right,
what are you talking about?
Just listen, because for example, I could say a female's this, you could say a female's that, another individual could say the female's this, that, or another, right? So, because there exists no objective definition for female.
Well, you can say the sky is green and we know it's all blue. Like,
just listen.
That's objectively true.
Just listen, right? And the same way that I could.
I got work, man. Have a good day, though.
Oh my gosh! Would you stop talking over people? It's obnoxious.
Right. And the same way, in the same way that I could define a chair as a platform with 4 legs, and another individual could define a chair as a 2x2 plank of wood with spokes sticking out of all 4 corners, perpendicular to the base. It's just, there's no one way to define any given term. My reference of infinite definitions was just noting the fact.
He's gone.
For years. I didn't even notice I had my eyes closed.
That's okay. Well, yeah. I mean, he didn't have an answer for it, so
yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Well, good night, Haley.
Good night, Dane.
Good night.
See you later.
Good night.
Yeah, and people, when I say I'm a female, I'm talking about being a transsexual female, not a cissexual female. There is big differences, but they are still both a type of female. So take from that what you want. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate it. I will bring up another guest now. Hi, Mel. Hi, Lollipoo.
Hey.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Just irritating. But if you ever need space, you can drop me down. That one I was just like, oh my gosh, it was driving me nuts. I really was hoping to get through to him, but
that's okay. I mean, some people just, yeah. Hi there, Alpha.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How old are you?
27.
Okay, great. I am a female. Can you prove me wrong?
No, ma'am, I sure cannot. I'm a friendly. I just
great.
say that I 100% agree with you.
Perfect. Thanks for coming up.
Whether anyone has anything else to say about it, they can get on down the road.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming up. Your voice is strangely soothing, but thank you.
Well, I know, Miss.
Sorry, I dropped you, but your voice was oddly soothing considering